I came across this video called "The Vegan Rabbit Hole is Insane" by someone called Umperville. He has like 5.65 million subscribers. So I think this is pretty big. So, and if he was vegan, I would know about him, like being as big as he is. So yeah, let's have a look what this Umperville is gonna say.
Today we're talking about a PSYOP. Not just any PSYOP, one that you've maybe never considered is actually a PSYOP.
Protesters invade an Echo Park restaurant, even dump red paint on the sidewalk out front. It's at least the third time. All this because the owner decided to add meat and dairy to what was a vegan-only menu.
And recently, I've been positing this question. I know that there's a level of reality to this, obviously, because people are ethical and they're moral, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But there is veganism. We're talking about veganism.
We get threatening phone calls to people following our trucks.
No, hey!
They're terrorizing our local farmers.
I made a lot of content around vegans. I made videos with the vegan teacher. She's a huge bitch, by the way.
I mean, hey, after all, I agree with you. We should always see the good side of people. For example, Hitler.
I tried to be as cordial as possible. Didn't work out for me. Didn't work out for me. Seems like that doesn't work out, being nice to people. She's completely addicted to the internet. She obsesses over every...
I mean, using the vegan teacher as, some sort of, like representation of the vegan movement, it's sort of like when people use vegan gains as a representation of the entire vegan movement. It's not at all. I still have no idea which direction this video is going to head in. So I am just as curious as you guys are. I mean, I would be really surprised if he just comes straight out and says that he supports veganism, but something tells me he's not going to do that. So let's have a look.
Every single comment. She can't put her phone down. She posts so many times a day, and most of her posts are just responses to comments. Like, this is her job, but it shouldn't be. She should be doing something else. This is a complete and total waste of human life. We have a lot to cover, so if you're a vegan, I recommend just commenting now, saying how much you hate me, that you're unsubbing, etc. But we're gonna be talking about some really interesting, fun stuff. And by the way, I do not hate vegans. I just don't like them. Just kidding. The National Farmers Federation in Australia, for example, has criticized activist maps that expose factory farms. I mean, it is really militant in Australia.
You have a right to protest. It's an important right.
Yeah, like, what do you mean? No shit. Like, what happens behind farm doors is just, we will never ever be able to see it. No. If it wasn't for these vegan activists, we wouldn't even know about the horrific conditions that go on behind these farmers. Like, you wouldn't say that about any other industry. Why is it when it comes to what we eat, it shouldn't be transparent? No, people should know what we eat. And the whole point of veganism is to show them how their food is made. This is how your food is made. That's all they want to do. Educate them on how their food is made, the amount of cruelty, the amount of torture that goes in to make the food that they want to eat. And yeah, like in Australia, the vegan movement is big. The vegan activist movement is big. It's because the meat and dairy industry here, if you watch Dominion, you realize how horrific it really is in Australia.
Hard fought one, but what are you trying to get at? What's the strategic aim here? You're trying to win hearts and minds to a cause. I'm a Melbourneian. I don't really think that happened yesterday. I think you had a lot of very grumpy commuters, a lot of people who couldn't catch a tram and couldn't get their decent coffee. And once you do that to a Melbourneian, you have lost us.
The implication is that if you give crazy, insane people who are willing to make lists and maps of locations of something that is as innocuous as just making food for the masses, if you give them the location of those things and they're willing to do insane shit like this and this, maybe that poses a risk for biosecurity. Or, what if there was a large subset of people who thought you shouldn't drink water? And then the vegan activists, the water activists, the fucking spice activists, I don't know, what's some kind of water joke, made maps of all the reservoirs and water sources around.
Yeah, except when it comes to water, there's no one being harmed or killed. There's no victim when it comes to water. The entire thing about veganism is whenever people try to conflate it with other things, whenever people try to come up with, like when they try to compare it to something else, it's always something that has no victim, which makes it so much, like easier. But when there's a victim involved, like when there's animals involved, then it's different. This isn't water that we're talking about. These are the lives of animals. Like, just think of it as dogs. What if instead of factory farms and dairy farms, these were dog farms, like farms made to breed dogs so that we can eat them. Would that change your perspective? I think it would. I think it would change most people's perspectives. Funny how that happens when it comes to dogs. People just all of a sudden have a heart.
In America, that probably would be really scary. With that sentiment in mind, it's important to note as well, we've already talked about this in the vegan booty video, but the effectiveness and actual ethical implication of the militant activist tactics, it is a huge subject of debate, and it doesn't do any good. In my opinion, it makes
Why? It's really not a debate. I mean, no shit. If you love meat, if you're a meat eater, you're gonna debate against it. If you're vegan, then it's like, I became vegan because of these activists, because I saw people, like, I saw people with these signs that said, watch Dominion. If it wasn't for them, I would not have known what Dominion was. You know, like, why? Just because of your anecdotal experience, people are changing their minds. People are being educated. You know, like, let's say all the attention that they got out of all the news articles, all the debates and whatnot. Let's say 100 people like came to know about this protest, and they saw people holding signs that said, watch Dominion. One person watches Dominion. It's a game changer. 2 people watch Dominion, and one person decides to go vegan. That's a game changer. That's what we want. We want people to be educated. You know, like, if this guy watched Dominion, he would change his mind. He wouldn't be saying what he's saying. But because he hasn't watched Dominion, it's, you know, like, he's talking with no context whatsoever.
makes me dislike people because it's irrational. Dr. Tyler Paitis, this guy, a research fellow, I like to call them, a research fellow. He argues that such extreme methods as vandalism and intimidation may be counterproductive to the movement's goals. Hey man, no fucking shit. It's a diet that y'all are pretending has...
It's not a diet. It is a lifestyle. And plant-based is a diet. Veganism is not a diet. It's a moral, ethical, like, lifestyle choice. And I hate when people conflate veganism with just a diet. No, it's a lifestyle. To avoid using animals, to avoid exploiting animals, to avoid using products that exploits animals is a lifestyle choice. It's not a diet. A diet would be, oh, I'm vegetarian. A diet would be, you know, like, I'm mostly plant-based. No, this is a lifestyle choice. Same thing would go, like, you know, if you didn't want to support, like, dog racing and you didn't want to eat dogs, it's not a diet. It's a lifestyle choice. You know, it's a lifestyle choice for you not wanting to eat like dogs, not wanting to support the cruelty of dogs. It's a lifestyle choice. It's not a diet. It's more than a diet.
He also says that this type of thing reinforces negative stereotypes and potentially alienates the average person, the public, from accepting or wanting to be a part of veganism. And yeah, you know what? It does. It absolutely does. I can tell you, Tyler, it definitely does. Given how pervasive meat eating is in the culture, and given the strong anti-vegan sentiment that I found both in the United States and here in Australia, I was hoping he was Australian. Well, I think it's very easy for people to dismiss vegans as crazy, self-righteous social justice warriors that don't need to be taken seriously. This guy legitimately just encapsulated 85% of all vegans into one sentence and just destroyed them and splattered them all over the floor. 85% of them. Seriously, it's like a lot. It's a lot. That's what it is. It's not a diet. It's not about actually making change. It's just about virtue, feeling virtuous in a moment and just feeling like you're better than other people because you feel bad. And then you see something and you're like, well, if I help, that'll make me feel good. And then you feel good by making other people feel bad. And then eventually you forget and you start eating meat again. Because it's really...
When people say that, you know, like, veganism is virtue signaling, I laugh because it's, when you look at any other forms of, you know, like, lifestyle changes, like, if you're against something, then more often than not, you wouldn't have to drastically change your life to be morally consistent. But with veganism, it is the biggest change in your life that you will probably ever make. Changing your food habits, changing, you know, what you eat. Like, not eating meat and dairy, that's a drastic life decision. And if you're just virtuous about being vegan, What you're gonna do, what you would do, is just be like, oh, I care about animals, I care about animal cruelty, but not do anything about it. Just say it. But with veganism, you actually have to make the change. You actually have to actively be consistent in all areas of your life to be against animal cruelty. That involves not eating meat or dairy. That involves not supporting any industry, not wearing any animal products, not buying any animal products. That's not virtue signaling. That's literally the opposite of virtue signaling. You have to do something. There is a, it's a change you have to make. And you can't say that with, most things. You don't have to change your life to support most things. But with veganism, you have to change how you live, pretty much. And I know that sounds dramatic. I'm making it sound dramatic. It's more simple than it sounds, but that's essentially what it is. It's a drastic lifestyle change. You can't really be virtuous about it. If you're like a born vegetarian and you're echoing the same, things that vegans echo, like, oh, I care about animals, I care about animal cruelty, but like, I love cheese too much, I love this. And if you were raised vegetarian, I think that's virtue signaling. But if you go vegan, you've literally made an active decision, and you're not just virtue signaling anymore, you're actually doing it. So yeah, that's a bit silly. That's a silly thing to say.
Really delicious. Militant vegan activism makes people hate you, and it's illegal. But a lot of people don't really give a shit, and they continue to engage in civil disobedience, which that's the psyop part, I feel like, right? Like,
if you're talking about legality, I mean, if you look at what happens behind these factory farms and dairy farms, the fact that, I mean, most of it is illegal, like by most animal welfare standards, but even the fact that you can do what you can do legally, that's horrific. That should, that should worry a lot of people. That you can rape an animal and you can impregnate an animal, and that's completely legal. Legality does not equal morality. Just because something's legal does not make it moral, and just because something's illegal does not make it immoral.
if you're giving people this vessel that they're probably not eating very healthy diets because they're spending all their time being disobedient. That's probably like, it's a lot of effort to be a vegan, like, I assume, right? It's a ton of effort to be a whole foods vegan, a healthy vegan. Seems like you have to be built differently. Dominion, you've probably heard of that. Everyone's like, oink Dominion, oink Dominion. And it's just like a snuff film of factory farms, which is absolutely not representative of the farming.
Oh yeah, it's not representative, except it is. What is he going to say? Like, there's, good factory farms, there's good dairy farms, like where they rape these cows in a good way, in a more humane way. Like, this guy is 100% not seen Dominion. There's no way you can watch Dominion and say these things.
Generally speaking, it's just not. But the fella who directed that, Chris Delforce, says that people watching this type of stuff, it does cause them to be more directly active and more of an activist. Dominion, if you watch Dominion and that's what makes you a vegan, it's definitely a way to kind of, become more enraged. But a lot of people have never seen death or anything like that. A lot of people have never seen nature in any way. They're completely detached from reality in every single measurable way. I mean, it's crazy. And the condition of certain factory farms is really bad. I mean, that's objective. I don't think there's any way to kind of argue against that. But being a militant and arguing against it through that is it's like saying paint is green and stuff. If it's green paint, you're just like, that paint is green. And it's so green. And then you're like making people mad because you're screaming it at them. And they're like, yeah, I see it's green. What am I supposed to do about it? Scream that it's green as well? Because like, it looks kind of stupid when you do it. So I don't really want.
That's not really an argument. I don't even know what he's saying, but when it comes to things like militant activism, the fact that he's saying it's pointless is completely anecdotal. Like, it makes no sense, because so many people have, gone vegan because of militant activism, and because of people like Joey Carbstrong and Ertling Ed, who also do other forms of activism. But the way he's characterizing veganism and what we fight for is quite disingenuous, because, like, this is what I'm saying. He's conflating veganism with calling paint green. And the way you can sort of dismantle that is, like, is it the same if, someone's like brutally kicking a dog around, or a cat, or a pet, or like an animal that's, like human friendly. If someone did that, then people would be outrageous. Like even on social media, if a dog is treated, horribly, the amount of outrage from the comments, like on social media, people care about animals. People care about animal cruelty, and the fact that there are people out there making them aware of this is the cruelty that happens to put the food on your plate. That what's so bad about that? That's not a fucking crime. The crime is the fact that like the violence even happens in the first place. Not the fact that there are people out there that are trying to educate people that it happens. Like there is no humane way to rape a cow. There is no humane way to kill an animal. There just isn't. So, like, what are you saying? If it's not factory farms, then what is it? Is it like magically some kind of farm where like animals are treated well? No. Like if you show anyone footage of what happens in these factory farms, they are gonna get outraged. They are gonna be sad. No one's gonna be happy. And the way he's saying, oh, people haven't seen that, people haven't seen that. What happens in factory farms is so detached from reality. It's so detached from nature because it's literally human bred. These animals will never see, will never be in the wild. They will never see an ounce of freedom. They are literally bred for human consumption. Like it's so detached from reality. Like these animals shouldn't even be bred in the first place. They are bred purely so that we can exploit them. And I think that should change.
Want to do that. I just want to eat this hamburger. All the craziness aside, there has been a shift in the global food industry. All right. Meat consumption is still incredibly high and absolutely needs to be substantially low. If you're a 365-pound Balkan man, and I'm not talking about bulking, like getting fit, but like Balkan, like you're Balkan. You're from like Herzegovina or something like that. Maybe lay off the meat a little bit. Your heart will thank you. Your heart will thank you. Vegans are, they're definitely right about the diet for sure. They're absolutely correct about that. And it is impossible to argue with. It really is. Maybe you throw a steak in there 2 times a week, then it'd be even better. But it is good.
No, it wouldn't be better. Like why? What is it? That's the thing, right? Like he shows us a study that like you can live a healthy diet, you can live a healthy life on a plant-based vegan diet, and then he's like, oh, throw some steak. Like there's no reason for this unnecessary violence. And he's also against, like, the only way that would make sense if there was lab-grown steak, then I would 100% be on board with that. Like, throw steak in there, 100%. But if a vegan diet is enough, why even add in, violence in the first place? So, I don't know, at least he's showing us this, because a lot of people, bad faith actors, they would probably be like, veganism is unhealthy for you, veganism is this, it's, so I appreciate that he's even saying that, he's showing us the science that veganism is the healthiest. It's completely healthy.
It beats most other diets, like really it does. Just research it a small amount and look at the countries who eat it. They're very extremely healthy. For example, Okinawa. How about Okinawa? Certainly not vegans, but vegetarian, consumption of fish, sexual deviancy. I don't know, dude. Plant-based eating in general is growing more and more popular, which I think is pretty cool. In the UK, it has increased by 10% in the last year, which is great. Those are vegetarian options, vegan options across the board. A lot of these things seem guilt-free, harm-free, or whatever, but they're not. Anytime you're making anything, you're also killing shit. You have to like acknowledge that and just kind of recognize that that's just nature.
I swear to God, if he's like, plants die as well, I knew this guy was gonna go in that direction. I knew it. It's always the greatest hits. I hope he doesn't say it, but if he says plants also die, I will cry.
Blob that's omnipotent. You're a person. You shit. You poop out of your ass, and then you have a disgusting birth, and then you'll die. You'll just be bones and just you'll be worm food. Eventually, worms will eat you. Isn't that weird? Or you'll get burnt or something, and then you just won't be a part of the nature anymore. Then you'll literally be an amorphous vase of ashes. So we've got subsidies for plant-based innovation, money from big ticket donors. We've got public awareness campaigns, the government's getting involved, school programs encouraging plant-based meal or a plant-based diet, not specifically veganism, but a plant-based diet. It makes you wonder which side the psyop is coming from. Is it farmers? Are farmers? Is it like the incumbent sort of, we have a lot of animals and we have a lot of money in this, and man, you been screaming with that bullhorn talk about eating broccoli, oh country boy, you're gonna get your ass whooped. Is it a psyop from that side that's inadvertently paying money You know, Operation Northwood style, shooting down Cuban friendlies? Is it that? Is it, you know, let's bolster the crazy vegan activists because they're all crazy and Oomaville will make a video about it? Or is it the government who wants people to be weak and docile, all right? Who wants people to be, and then after they take away our meat, they're gonna take away our guns. Or is it just you know, a genuine change that is the antithesis of like Western consumerism? Because that also could be viewed as a psyop.
Just because plant-based initiatives are getting subsidized by the government, I think the real psyop is the meat and dairy industry. If you look at how much they're subsidized by the government, like, you really think, you know, like a $5 burger is actually $5 from Macca's? Meat and dairy, especially meat, is heavily subsidized by the government. Like our own taxpayers' money, my taxpayers' money is going to subsidize meat. But you don't see this guy talking about that. You don't see this guy bringing that up. It's way more subsidized than plant-based foods are. By far. The meat and dairy industry are one of the most subsidized industries, like, out of every industry. And, you know, just because they're subsidized, you don't see people, like, saying it's a government psyop. You know? Like, I don't understand the argument. Just because, you know, something good receives government subsidies, I think there should be more subsidies. I think there should be subsidies on all health foods. You know, like anything that's healthy. I think we should take the money away from junk food, away from meat and dairy industry, because when you're poor, the cheapest foods for you are junk food. And no one ever stops and questions why. Why are the cheapest foods always the most unhealthiest foods? It's because they are heavily subsidized. If we take those subsidies away from the meat and dairy industry and put them into foods that are actually good for you, into fruits, into vegetables, you know, into whole food plant-based products, like, people are going to buy more healthy foods. That's just, it's common sense. The cheaper something is, the more people will buy. You know, if junk food is cheaper, people will buy that out of necessity. If healthy foods are cheaper, people will buy that. I think fruits and vegetables should be cheap. I think it's a crime that they're as expensive as they are right now. It shouldn't be a luxury to be healthy, you know? So I think we should go further. And like, fruits and vegetables, they fall under plant-based foods. You don't think it should be subsidized? I think it should be more subsidized. I think it should be so cheap for people to buy fruits and vegetables. And I think it should be like subsidized by the government. Like, I don't care if my taxpayers' money is going to make people healthier. Like, who would have a problem with that?
Meat producers have been criticizing what they believe is biased media coverage and unfair government policies that favor plant-based alternatives, which that does make sense because you can't make a vegan burger. Like, you can't have I have a small farm in rural America where we make bean burgers and we sell them in mass enough to make a profit. No. It's gigantic companies and corporations who are creating the plant-based alternatives, generally speaking, right? Like, generally speaking, the ones that affect the most people. Whereas you got 4,000 acres in Texas, that's enough meat for every HEB in a 1,000-mile radius. It's very...
Okay, with that point, like, sure, let's say there is a farm that produces meat, but what about the food that's required to feed those animals that are killed to make those burgers? You know, like, these animals that are food, they need food. They need lots of food. They need lots of water. There's way more resources that go into making a meat burger than that go into making a plant-based burger. Way more. And it's very interesting. People say, oh, plant-based burgers, it's so unhealthy. It's so this, it's so that. When literally science says otherwise. There's way more resources. It costs way more money to make a meat burger than a plant-based burger. But because they're subsidized, it's way cheaper for us to buy, which should not be a thing, which should be a crime. It should be criminal. The fact that, you know, you can get a meat burger for $2. But yeah, like, you can't compare the two. You can't compare a meat burger to a plant-based burger. It uses way less resources to make plant-based foods. So you can make way more plant-based food than you can make, you know, way more meat foods. And like, that's the entire reason why 80% of all agricultural land on this planet is used to grow food for live crops, is because people have the same mindset. People think like that. Oh, it's easier to make a meat burger than it is to make a bean burger. No, it's cheaper, it's better, it's more sustainable, it's healthier for you, and it's healthier for the planet for you to have a bean or a soybean burger than it is to make a meat burger.